Well, they told me to imagine you guys were all naked and that would make me feel better. The problem is, you're all personal trainers and you're looking really good, so it's not helping at all. Anyway, I'd better get on with what I was going to say, and I want to tell you about my last year. And I need to press the forward button. So my life changed a year ago when I kissed a man. I'd come away on a 3-day conference. I'd left my husband and my kids at home, and I kissed a man. And that sort of behaviour doesn't really normally do your life or your future or your marriage much good, but I went up and kissed this guy. Pete Cohen. He did a talk last year. I don't normally go for short, bald men, but he did this talk and he asked us to go up and punch him. I can't really remember why, but I thought I'd go up and kiss him because on that day, he installed belief into my life. He also installed the desire to start facing some fears and get up there and do some of the things that you want to do. And I want to tell you how mega training last year changed absolutely everything for me. I want to tell you how being here against the odds has made such a difference to me as a person, to my family and to my business. I want to tell you about that personal growth. When I sat in here as a proper MPE skeptic, and I'm sure many of you will understand what I mean by that because you're maybe thinking those things. Put them aside now, don't waste your time, because I did. Because this is me, Spire Fitness Solutions. I was a part-time personal trainer training people in their own homes. That's Mary. I was really excited. I saw her face on James Breeze's video out there. Go and check it out. It's my clients, and I'm standing there thinking, oh my God, these are my clients on a video here, and that's just would never have happened without meeting people like James. These are some kettlebell classes in my local guide hut. I still do that every Tuesday night. Fitness classes, I call them Fit, Fun, Intensive Training. That's our Scout hut. That's one of my running groups going out. They're all wearing my t-shirts, which wouldn't have happened before MPE either. And we meet in my garden, and we still meet in my garden. I was worried that joining something like MPE would mean going against all my core values, that it would mean losing touch with the things that were most important to me. My community is massively important. I operate in a small village. They're my friends. It's my family. Because this really is me. That's my family. That's what is most important to me. That's my husband, Malcolm. He's a mad, keen runner. He loves being involved in my business as well. If it hadn't been for him, we wouldn't have eaten in the last year because he's got really good at shopping as well and cooking. That's my daughter, Molly. It was her 15th birthday yesterday, and I feel bad not being there, but she's really, really proud of what I've done. And she sent me off yesterday saying, Mum, you're going to be great. I'm really proud of you. And she was able to say that. That's my ginger one. We'll talk a little bit about the Ginger Massive in a minute. Cam, he's into skateboarding, doing stuff. He's just great fun. They made me put that on. That's a cat, obviously, because that is our family. That's us. That's me. That's what's important to me. So I was a personal trainer. I used to be a PE teacher. I changed to being a personal trainer because it fitted in. I need to go back to that picture. It fitted in really well with family life. It fitted in with getting the kids to school. It fitted in with just having a nice life. I lived in a nice Sussex village. There wasn't very much I wanted different. And I took up personal training so that I could do lunch with my friends still. I'm a bit embarrassed because I know you guys work long hours in gyms and so on. Well, personal training for me started out as something that meant I could still get out on my bike once a week with my mates. It was good. And I would take small groups of adults. Didn't have to tell them to tie their hair back, do their laces up, stop chewing gum, none of that. It was really an easy life, and then they paid me. My house was full of sweaty fivers. This is how I kept my accounts for the first 5 years of my business. That spreadsheet goes on and on and on. It was one whole year, every single name, every sweaty fiver, all recorded, and then I sort of added it up and tried to find some receipts, and that was my tax return. I didn't have an accountant for the first 5 years. And then I started to wonder, first of all, if I had 50 people doing this sort of stuff and they really liked it, what would happen if I did start to take it seriously? I also knew I didn't want to go back to teaching. And I needed to do something for the next 20 years. The next part of my life, the part of my life where the kids have gone, where I need a pension. And I started to worry what might happen. I noticed that there were new personal training businesses springing up everywhere. Lots of young, funky people. A lot of boom and a lot of awesome, which are a couple of things that I struggled to come to terms with. And I knew that I couldn't do all this myself. There was only me, and me was going to get quite worn out if I started trying to do more. So I wondered how I could make those changes, and it didn't take much searching to find MPE, and you know that when you've found MPE, they've found you. But was it for me? Could I really do it? I wasn't quite sure. I was in a mess. I had no systems, no organisation, I had no team. And in fact, I was starting to really miss that as well, because as a teacher, you have peer support. You go into the staff room, and I'd worked on my own for 5 years. So I really, was looking to meet with other professionals. And there was no growth. There was no opportunity to grow. I was in a mess. It was a state, and it needed sorting out. I knew I needed help, and I did slowly start to realise that MPE had some of the answers and that they might be able to help me. But I was still very, very negative. It took me a long while to buy in. I really did feel my business was different. I didn't want to do all the things that they suggested. Tom told me to get rid of the running group. And I was like, no, the running group is me, it's everything, but it makes no money. No, it's me! And I just wanted to do those things. So I just couldn't see how it could marry up. And I certainly didn't have faith or courage to get involved very heavily. But I did sign up to EA. Just coming to something like mega training is hard. I know that lots of you, presumably, especially if you're still doing the training in your business, getting away for 3 days is really, really tough. I want to tell you why doing that against the odds last year changed absolutely everything for me. So, on my daughter's birthday last year, I cancelled a personal training session for the first time ever. I was on my way there when my husband phoned and said that my mum, who was terminally ill, the ambulance was at her house and they were going to take her into the hospice. And I obviously had to cancel that client and go to her. It was Molly's birthday. I went to the hospice in the ambulance with my mum. I settled her in and I came home and I made a really, really hard decision. I was booked into mega training. Thankfully, mega training last year was at Gatwick. And the hospice was between my house and Gatwick. And I made a really hard decision to come to mega training. And it was huge for me. I was sat right at the front. When Richard McCann gave his keynote speech, it was incredible. His I can message just resonated so heavily with me. Why can't I do these things? What can I do with my business? What can I be? And that it's not just for other people to have success. It is for everybody. I went home that night via the hospice and I sat with my mum and I held her hand and I talked to her about what I'd decided my business, what Aspire could be. And I went home and then I came back the next morning to mega training. And there was Pete. He did a talk about baggage. He stood on this stage and did a talk about not defining yourself by what's happened to you in the past and what you think you are, but deciding what you want to be. And a massively pertinent bit was when he walked over to this side of the stage and lay down and said he was in his coffin and what was being said at the end of his life when he died. And it hit home with me so much because I started to think about how my mum felt at the end of her life. She was an amazing lady. She went to Africa in the 1950s on her own to marry my dad, having not seen him for a year. They got married on a mission field. The only person she knew at her wedding was my dad. She brought up 6 children on 3 different continents. She was a nurse for her entire life, but she only ever worked for my dad. And yet she was dying, not ever really believing she did anything for herself and not feeling that she had succeeded. And I decided that I had got to decide then and there what I was going to do with my life. And Pete really installed the belief that there was a possibility that I could make those decisions of what it was I wanted to do. Why does it not click? So on the last day, we'd had 2 days. The VIPs had been coming and going from their special secret things. And laser coaching came and went, and the new brave me really wanted to get chosen, and I didn't, and I had to watch these other people get told how to fulfill their dreams. The NPE rock stars came up on stage and did amazing presentations that just hit home with me, but I absolutely knew I could never, ever, ever do that. And then the VIP form, the intention to want to be in VIP form, expression of interest in VIP form sat on our tables, and I filled it out. And I handed it in, making sure nobody saw. You didn't see me, Heidi, did you? You didn't know I handed that in. So I handed it in. I wanted some of this. I could see how it was really going to help me. And then we had our final session. It was Billy Beck, and he got us to walk on broken glass. I wanted to leave the room. I don't do audience participation. I don't do standing up and waving my hands. And for those of you who are here, know that we did all of that. It was the most practical hour of learning I have ever done. He taught us to silence the lambs and to bring out our inner lion. And I have used what he taught us so much in facing my fears over the last year, both personally and at work, and I've used it with my clients. I didn't leave the room, and I walked on broken glass, and I didn't bleed out, which, do you know what, I really thought I was going to be the one who was up here pouring with blood, because I just was not going to do it right. The conference wound up, and people started to leave, and reality suddenly hit. How was I going to do this? I couldn't go VIP, this is ridiculous. We didn't have the money. I had no idea what the next few weeks and months held for me and my family. I had to look after my kids, and it was just crazy. So I went to the back of the room and I asked Marie for my form back, and she was looking for it when Rick came by. I was sad and upset. I felt like a failure. I felt I was making excuses again why I couldn't just do this and boom, smash it out, go for it. And I was met with such compassion, such understanding, and Andrew came by as well, and he promised to phone me and to get in touch and help me work out how I was going to do this. I was really amazed by the NPE response, and for the first time ever, I knew that NPE would be in touch with me to help me, not just because I might become VIP. I know Andrew did phone. I can't really remember when. The next while is a bit of a blur. My mum didn't ever come home from the hospice. She died 10 days later on the morning of my husband's 49th birthday. And it was a really, really tough time, especially for my kids who are very close to my mum. We had the funeral, all sorts of things. And then about that time, NPE announced their Fast Track to VIP program. And I felt like the email was written to me. That's Infusionsoft for you. But I really did. It was entirely designed for me to take me to where I needed to want, and I signed up straight away. Suddenly, the investment in that didn't seem so massive anymore, and I took massive action. I started doing things. Something Sean had told us to do. He told it lots of last year was about networking. He told us to network, go find the people who can help you. And I went and I had my nails done, which is slightly embarrassing. And I had my nails done because the beauty salon in our high street is underneath a Curves studio. And I wanted to find out who owned that studio and what really was going on in Curves. And Ruth, the owner, said to me, "Oh, I'll introduce you. She's desperate. She can't wait to get out. I know. It's a disaster up there." So I had an introduction to Kim. She was desperate. She immediately offered to sublet the changing rooms to me to turn into a studio. My husband knocked some walls down. We made the changing rooms into a small studio, and that's it. We can fit about 3 people in there. we sublet, and I started to follow the MP instructions. I did what I was told. I started doing some marketing. Marketing works. And then you have to. I was madly busy. I didn't know what to do with myself. We had a 12 Days of Christmas campaign. I'm not much good at my numbers. Chris, I'm really sorry. I will get better because I'm seeing why it's important. But one thing I do know is my 10 times table. December's not a good month for me, so it's a slightly unfair comparison, but I took just under £600 in December 2013. My business only operates in term times, so school holidays are a no-go. But still with school holidays and no classes, last year I took £6,000. And then in January, I took over £8,000, and it was apparently a hashtag BME, but I didn't know what hashtags were, and I didn't know what BME was. And the one thing that came out of this was a sort of understanding that if I could keep this up, we could probably pay some VIP bills, so I signed up to VIP. Am I all right to carry on? So at the end of January, I signed up to VIP when our family world was rocked again. My father-in-law went into hospital and he didn't come out. He died of cancer. My children losing a second grandparent. And I mention this because I did something that made them really, really proud. I spoke at his funeral and they were so proud of me for doing that. And I could no way have done that without MPE, Richard McCann, Billy Beck, Pete Cohen, and the stuff I'd learned. It goes into every aspect of your life. It isn't just about your business. I was exhausted, really worn out. I had been working madly. I was doing all the training. I got all these new people in, but I was suddenly training all hours. I didn't see any of my son's basketball games. And as a family, we needed something for the future. And on a whim, we booked flights to California for 3 weeks in August. This will be great. And then it was like, oh, shit, how am I going to pull this off? What am I going to do? I need my business. I need help. There's got to be someone else to do stuff. But if I've got help and I'm paying someone, my business has to go all year round, which obviously it did. I mean, you can imagine I'd been told by MPE a few times that probably term time only wasn't a business. It was I don't think it was even, they say you haven't got a business, you've got a job. Well, I don't think I even had a job. My sister-in-law once called what I did a hobby. So I needed hands-on help, and with Chris's guidance and support, I appointed Tess. She came on board full-time in July. I asked my clients to make a major change. I launched a sign up for September campaign. I asked them all to sign up from September to be year-round, which effectively means a third more money. And sign up, and I offered them, made them an offer to sign up for 12-month contracts. Thankfully, that was really scary, because what if they all said no and I had nothing to come back to in September? I was terrified. That was when Chris told me, he said, what's fear? And I was like, well, it's when you're really, really shit scared and you don't want to do something. He said, no, what's fear? Apparently fear is false evidence appearing real, and it stayed with me. Why was I worried about this? What proof did I have that they wouldn't sign up? And thankfully, I also had the amazing Mandy Murray admin, one of my ladies from my running group, came on board, because as the answers came in to process, by the time I went on holiday, 80 out of 93 of my clients had signed up to be with me for the following year on 12-month contracts. So we were set up for success. That holiday to California was amazing. It was just me, my 3 favourite people, doing some really, really fun stuff. We did have a bit of an Aspire plank challenge. We got people to send in pictures all over the place doing planks, and that was Cam's effort. He wasn't that near the edge, really. We went to some wonderful places. I told Sean yesterday, now I understand why he moans about the British weather. You just get up in America and do what you plan to do, because it's just nice every single day. It was us 3 and our massive RV. We thought it was massive. If anybody saw the picture of, I think it was Paul Fetter's big truck that he also then puts his Porsche in, and his 2 boaty things, It wasn't quite that big, but it was cool. I also did some things there that were just a little bit more exciting, thank you to the tools I'd learned. I took a flight with my son over the Grand Canyon in a helicopter. No way would I have ever stepped in that thing. Ever before, but you know, what's the worst that can happen? I dived off that rock. My son said, come on, Mum, I'll do it if you do. And I dived off that rock, which was at least 5 meters, 10 meters high. It was very high. And I put a bunch of money on red in a casino in Las Vegas, which I never would have done before. It came out black, but hey-ho. Thank you, Chris, so much for getting me on that plane, because there were a few wobbles, and the support I had from Chris and from the NPE community. I had people in California saying, when you're out here, meet up with us. We didn't have time to take advantage of that, but I wish we did. It is an incredible, they meant it, they really meant it. Let's get together for a brainstorming session, they said, you know. Just doing this has been an amazing process. I recommend next year every single person in the room applies for this, because just writing down my last year has been an incredible experience. And on reflection, I see that while we've all got a different vision where we want to go, what we're trying to achieve is different for everybody. You need strength and courage, and you've just got to take massive action to get where you want to be. I've written this bit out because I need to say it to you properly. Nothing else has probably gone how I meant it to be, but I thought my business was different, and what I know now is that all businesses are different, but the principles of courage, faith, knowing your numbers, and getting stuff done will make vast differences to all our businesses and our lives. Thank you, NPE, not just for what my business has become and for what I've become, but thank you for silencing the cynic in me. My business is now very different. Thank you.